Hi everyone, and welcome to our Learn with Sawgrass Wednesday. I'm Rhonda. I'm the education manager here at Sawgrass, and this week we've been kind of focusing on our SG500 printer. Yesterday I went through some of the advantages, so if you didn't catch me live, please check out that video on YouTube in our Sawgrass Academy to kind of get some points that I think are some of the bigger points about why the SG500 may be the right printer for you. But I wanted to take today and go into what I really think is one of the key elements of the Sawgrass Advantage, and that's our software. So, you know, I talk about it all the time. We are the Sublimation printer that has the software to support it. We do have the two pieces. We do have MySawgrass, which includes our design tool, and if you're in the US, our store. And then we have our Sawgrass Print Utility. Now I'm going to go into both today. I'm going to spend most of my time in the Sawgrass Print Utility, and that's because I think that this piece of software is really integral to your success in sublimation and in using the VersaFlex system with our Sawgrass printers. So just to, you know, get the, or address the elephant in the room, the Sawgrass Print Utility is what most people think of as our new print utility or print management software. It's really not that new. We did bring it out a couple of years ago. We just have kind of this year really said now's the time to switch over. We do feel that Sawgrass Print Utility is a very stable piece of software, and then also it does have a lot of advantages, and I'm going to jump into a bunch of those advantages today. So we'll do that right now. So this is the Sawgrass Print Utility. One of the big advantages to me of this over our previous print management software is that it is actually software that you can open. So the previous software only opened if you dropped files into it. So if I was actively printing, I could drop a file. Once I drop the file in or push the file over, then the program would open. The Sawgrass Print Utility is actually software that you can open on your computer and you can interact with, and then you can open files into it. So it's a little bit different, but I think that's a really good thing. And one of the reasons why I think that's so good is what we're going to start with, which is our settings menu. So, you know, I actually started several years ago now, probably 4 years ago, and started doing some roundtables. So I talked to our support team here at Sawgrass. I talked to users out in the field. I talked to our sales managers as well. I talked to some dealers and really talked about how people use our print management software and really kind of learned a few things. So one of the first things I learned is that there are a wide range of customers using Sawgrass printers. There are those of you who probably pull the printer out a few times per year and do a few pieces around holidays or what I call right now gifting season. Maybe make some t-shirts as well. And then there are those who are using it in a high production environment. So we need software that caters to both that casual user or that brand new user, and then also that person who needs all the bells and whistles because they're doing a lot of printing every single day. So this program needs to be very versatile and really adaptable to the way that you, the end user, is going to use it. So I clicked on the settings button. If you didn't see where I went to do that, I just over here on the side clicked on settings, and this is where I'm going to see some features that I can choose. So one of those is whether you want to automatically start it. Another is whether you want to save recent jobs. You see my recent jobs out on the screen there for everyone to see. All of these features are kind of in there. One of the other ones is going to be close jobs after printing. Now, if you really like that Sawgrass Print Manager effect of when you hit print, the whole program closed, this button is for you. That is, that close jobs after printing means that instead of the tab staying open across the top, they automatically close. So there's a lot of great options here to kind of make this work for you the way you want it to. You will see that I do have my spot color tab open. You probably may not want that. It's probably something that you're not going to use. That's going to be one of those more specific to high production where you want to make sure that the pixels are the exact color they need to be when they output. So that may be something that you turn off. And then of course your inches or millimeters depending on whether, whichever system you use. You also will see under account that you can change the language. Now when you do change the language, you do have to close the program and reopen it. This is also where if you go to devices, you can set your default printer. Huge for me because as you see, I have access to a lot of printers. I often travel to trade shows and other places where we have a printer set up. For those days where I'm at the show, I need that printer to pop up every time I open a new tab. But when I get home, I need to change it. So it's really nice to have it so it doesn't default to the first printer you installed, and you can really choose that printer that you need. Now, another great feature here in a way that you can really personalize this is going to be manage page sizes. So here again, you can set the default. I was at a show where I was using mug paper. So for me to set that default, that meant every time I hit that tab, that was one less button I had to think about remembering when I was gonna hit print. And often I'm talking when I'm printing, so multitasking sometimes means you miss things. So having that as the default really, really helps. Now you will see that you can add custom page sizes as well. This is great. We talked yesterday about the bypass tray on the SG500. You really don't have a paper size that is a standard paper size that you purchase. A lot of people cut 8.5 by 21 or so because that works well for those socks and ties and ribbons and all those fun things. But that you could set this here and then add that paper size. So really great to have. Yes, you can make custom paper size as your default. And as I always do as I'm getting used to the new system, I forgot to remind you, if you have any questions for me, please just put them in the chat and Rhodes will either answer them or bring them up for me to answer for you. All right, so let's, that's kind of settings, why I think that's so important. The next thing that to me really is important is how you get files into the program. Now, the first one you're gonna see is right here in front of our faces, and that is going to be recents. So this is something that I really pushed for. I think you've probably heard me tell this story. There was a Creative Studio before Creative Studio. So our design tool that we just sunset in February, there was a version before that, and it had two features that we really loved that we did not have in this previous version of Creative Studio, and I lobbied really hard to get them back. One was the ability to change colors in elements and designs that we have loaded in the program, which I'll demo in just a little bit. And then the other is this concept of recents. In that program, anything that you had printed, you could just click on and resend to the Sawgrass Print Manager without having to open it and all of that and take those extra steps. So we've done this in the Sawgrass Print Utility. It's a little amped up in that anything that you've brought into the Print Utility and hit the print button on is going to show up in recents. I can just click on it. It's going to reopen, and it's got all of my print settings. So if this were something that I had put multiples on a page, it would actually have remembered that. If I had changed my product type or any of those things, it's going to remember that too. So all of those settings do come up with it. Really great for those jobs that you print a lot, makes your life a lot easier. All right, so the next way, and from what I've seen, probably the most popular is this create button. So as you can see, I hit create. Now I have this add files available to me. And here are all of the file types that I can just click and bring into the program. So any of these would work to be brought in. I'm gonna hit add files and go over to where I need to be. And there is my file ready to go. I can just bring in that PNG file and now I'm set. Now, the next section I want to show you is this design file area. And I really love the way this functions. So this is really great for, I really use it for one cause, and that's when I'm putting multiples on the page. So whether I'm ganging or whether I'm nesting, nesting is when you're putting multiples of one item on a page. Ganging is when you're putting multiples of different items on a page. It's a great way to make sure that you're utilizing the paper in the best way and that you're getting the most out of that sheet of paper. We know they're not cheap. We do want that to be as cost effective as possible for you. So in this case, this is a luggage tag. This is the front of a luggage tag. So let's say I'm doing multiples of these. This is a great reason to use nesting. So I'm going to go ahead and put 4 of these on my page. I can go in and I can space this to add some spacing between them. I'm just going to type in the spacing that I want. You do see that it starts off of the top right, and you see that it's putting the spacing on the side and the bottom. We have had situations in the past where it repeats. So if I were putting a ½ inch on the side, it was putting a ½ inch on the side of both. So they were actually an inch apart. Wasn't quite as efficient. So this does work really well to do that. All right, so I have added my spacing there. One thing that you can do, we have made some tweaks. We have rearranged where some things are, and we move this layout up to the top. So I can actually turn my whole page landscape to see if that makes it so that I could fit more on a page. It doesn't. I'm going to leave it portrait. But you can always try that to see if it's something where turning the page gives you a little more space. All right, so that is ready to go, and so let's look at our print settings. Now, I did mention, I'm going to switch my printer real quick. All right. So one of the things I did mention is we do try to cater to both the user who is printing a few times per month as well as that user who's printing multiple times per day. And so for that person who doesn't print as often, or to that person that is brand new to Sawgrass, presets are going to be very helpful. So what presets are going to allow you to do is say, this is what I'm pressing onto, and all of the settings are going to change to match what that is. So if I were to say that I was doing a can hugger, I wouldn't be with this, but if I were, it immediately knows that's neoprene. It leaves my mirror checked and is all set and ready to go. Now, if I were to say go to an acrylic sign or plaque, generally with acrylic you are pressing onto the back and then viewing it from the front. So it's actually going to turn my mirror button off for me. And then it changes all my settings accordingly. Now, most of these make sense. They are what you would choose if you were just going through. But there is one that's a little different, and that is going to be frosted glass. That's one where we went with what we know produces the best results, even though if it's not exactly what you would think it would be. And for that specifically with the frosted glass, you're not choosing, it's not choosing glass, it's choosing metal, because we found that gave the best results. All right, so if you choose a preset, you are pretty much done. So you don't have to worry about changing anything else unless you want to center on page. And then also you would choose your paper size and your paper brand. Those are things that are going to change depending on your printing and aren't necessarily standards. So you could come in and change that. You also can go into and change the media type. Now, we do get a lot of questions here. People do ask us, you know, if my paper type isn't listed, what should I choose? Well, the default is going to be type A. So we know that there are many different paper coatings in the sublimation world. So just to kind of go into the science, sublimation transfer paper does have a coating. That coating is going to allow the ink to stay on top and makes that process of it becoming a gas easier. If you were to use a paper that wasn't coated, so if you were to use standard copy paper, or I'm old enough that I still call it typing paper, what's going to happen is that ink is going to absorb. So can you still do a transfer? Yes. Are you going to get the same consistent coverage as you would with a transfer paper? No, you are not. So your best results are always going to be with a sublimation paper. Now, as I said, each coating is different by manufacturer. We do know there are two common coatings. So one is type A and one is type B. So I always say default, if you don't see your paper in the list, default to type A. And if you are seeing anything that indicates that that's not the best setting, then you're going to choose type B. What may you be seeing that would indicate that? One would be that there's an extra amount of ink left on the page. There's always going to be more ink than you expect left on the page. But if it seems more than normal, or if the ink stays wet. So, and again, we are talking about true sublimation transfer paper. If it's staying wet, you may want to try that other one, go with the type B and see if that works better for you. That may be the coating of the specific paper that you're using. All right, Rhodes, I just laid out a lot of science there. Are there any questions?
Joel has a really good question. How many recent files can be saved in Print Utility?
Yeah, so good question, Rhodes, or Joel. Through Rhodes. If you click on the actual recents button, you can set that. So these are saving to your local computer. So you do have control over how many set or how many are saved. My number's a little weird because I was testing something and just kind of left it there. But you can up that number. You can save more. And this also brings up a good point. Recents are tied to the computer you're on. So if I were to leave this computer and sign in to my account on Rhodes's computer, I would not see my files there because they're saved locally. So recents are tied to the computer that you're on. But great question, thank you. All right, so that's kind of the major things on the settings. I do want to go over one more, and it also moved to the top, and that's number of copies. Now, if you haven't noticed yet, if I'm talking about the specific file, that's in the design file area. If I'm talking about the settings of the whole document, that's going to be down here in those print settings. So if this page were perfect, if I had it laid out exactly the way I wanted to with the settings I needed, and I didn't need 4 of this particular luggage tag, I actually needed 12. What I would do is I would do 3 copies. Now, what that's doing is I'm not going up here and telling it that I need to repeat 12. That's going to use more computer memory. This is actually doing 3 copies of the whole page. So my page is set, my page is ready. Now I can just do 3 copies of it, and I'm set and I'm ready to go. And if I were to hit print, now this would be in my recents, and I could pull it up exactly like that, and I'd be set and ready to do 12 of these on acrylic every single time I'm ready to go. All right. So let's quickly look at color management. I've done a lot of lessons on color management. I'm going to do another lesson on color management, another workshop on the topic next month. So we're going to kind of go through this quick, and I'm going to show you the new one that has been added in. So generally what I tell people when they're looking at color management, the main two choices are going to be photographic and vivid. And the choice between those is based on one question. What's more important to you, color appearance or color accuracy? So if I'm doing a photo or I'm doing a company logo, I want it to be as close to what I'm seeing on the screen as possible. In that case, color accuracy matters. I'm going to go with my photographic mode. If color appearance is what's most important, I want a final product that's bold, that's bright, that's very saturated, I'm going to go with vivid because that's going to give me that color that's just a little bumped up in brightness, a little bumped up in saturation, and that's where I would go with this particular project. I would go with vivid. Now, if you are looking for something that falls into shades of gray, into your blacks, and doesn't have color in it, then you can use the grayscale mode to get the best results with that. And then you are seeing a new button, and it is called Classic. So what Classic does is it mimics as close as we can the colors that you were getting out of the Sawgrass Print Manager. So it's going to go more with the saturation and the settings that you saw there to give you that result that's very similar to what you were getting. So we have seen great success with this. People are happier that like the colors they were getting from that program. They are happier with that mode. So try Classic mode to see if you're getting the results you want. Now, if Classic, Vivid, and Photographic are still not getting you exactly where you need to be, this is where you want to go to Custom. Custom allows you to dial this in. So I've always kind of liken this to fine tuning on a violin or on a piano. You're not taking big strokes here, but if you need something that's got a little more cyan or something that's a little brighter, this is really where you can play. We have made some changes. This did exist before, but we have made it a little more user-friendly. You are able to go in and well, first of all, you can see what you're adjusting. Second of all, you can reset that to the middle if you decide it's not what you want. One thing to remember with any of these changes that you make, you are going to want to apply to image so that you can see them. So you do make most of your changes, apply, fit a little bit more, hit apply. Now, if you print this and you really like it, you can actually save this custom, and then every time you come in, you can choose it. Now, you may have a different custom for different materials or for different customers. You can name it, you can have it however you want so that you can pull up those customs and use them. Makes things a little bit faster, gets you to exactly where you want to be. And then I did forget to point out one thing with grayscale, because grayscale is going to be a little different depending on whether we're doing an image like this or whether we're doing a photograph. I can actually go into my custom sliders and adjust this. Remember to apply to image, but I can adjust my grayscale as well to make sure that I'm getting the colors exactly where I want them to be. All right, so I taught you a lot about the Sawgrass Print Utility, and I did it using that Create button. Let's talk about the other ways that you can get files into the program. One of them is going to be your quick print folders. Now, you may remember with the Sawgrass Print Manager, you did have a smart folder on your desktop. Same concept here. When you first install the program, it is going to add one folder to your desktop. It's going to be your default quick print folder. How does that work? Quite simply, I'm going to drop a file into the folder. It's going to open up into the program, and it's going to use the settings that I have here as the default. Now, could you change those settings? Of course you can, but you can go in here and you can change those settings. I'm going to select a printer. It's mad at me. Hold on. I'm going to select that printer. And now there's all my settings depending on that, and I can do it. Now, I know you saw that my printers were grayed out and all of that. there's an easier screen for me to go over that. So we'll put a pin in that for just a second. We'll talk about it just momentarily. But I can go in and I can choose all of my settings. When it opens up with those, makes it a little bit easier. You do see there's an automatic button in here. What that would mean is if I dropped 5 files into my folder, those 5 files would go straight to the printer with the settings that I had designated. It's going to go to the printer that I have chosen to. So that's a quite easy way to do it if you're doing high volumes, to drop them into those folders. You do notice that I have 2 folders. I had a customer when I was in support years ago who had a workflow where she created everything, put it in a folder. The person who did the printing and pressing would come in, drop them all into the appropriate folder. They would open up with the settings, and then they would do the pressing from there. We've made it a little bit easier than that even. There is a play and pause button. If it is paused, you're dropping into the folder, but they're not opening into the program until you hit that play button, and then they'll open for you with those settings. So you don't have to create a different folder. You can have your folder for specifically what you're printing and pressing, drop it in there, and then you're ready to go. Now I had it paused, but there's nothing in the folder, so nothing opened, but that is how that would work. This system of having multiple folders is one that I've always been a great advocate for. Then you have your acrylic folder, you have your ceramic folder, you have your metal folder. Now with VersaFlex, you have your cotton folder or your chiffon folder that you can drop into. Makes your life a lot easier to use those quick print folders. And just to show you how that works, here on my desktop, I will go ahead and drop this in. And it's going to open up in the program with those settings. There you go. All right. So that is your quick print folders. Now, the other way that you can do this, we're going to go back to our settings, talk about the one we did not talk about earlier, which is Send to Sawgrass Print Utility. And so what this does is if you are printing from any program other than the MySawgrass design tool, you're going to go into the program like you normally would. You're going to go to File, Print, and choose Send to Sawgrass Print Utility as your printer. Just like this. I'm going to go File, I'm going to go Print. This is Adobe Illustrator. Just choose Send to Sawgrass Print Utility and hit Print, and it's going to come on over to that program. Now, this is where you do those settings. So when it opens, it's going to open up with those settings for you. And you can again hit that automatic button if you want it to just go straight to the printer without coming here first. Now, let's talk about this one printer selected. Now, what you can do, and this is for someone who has multiple printers and does a high volume, is you don't want all of your jobs to go to one printer all the time. So you have to have some way of tracking that. So I'm doing ceramic mugs. I have 5 printers. I need to know which printer has not gotten jobs in the longest amount of time. So you can choose all the printers that are the same model and have the same ink set. So I could choose all of my 1000s that have Sublimation, all my 500s that have VersaFlex or whatever it may be. And then it's going to say, I'm going to call them A, B, C, D, and E. It's going to say, well, printer E hasn't been printed to in 3 days. The others were all printed to 2 days ago, and it's going to send it to printer E. So it's going to go to the one that hasn't had a job in the longest amount of time. So really simplifies, means you don't have to track or worry that someone else didn't write some information down, and you can get it to the right printer. So very, very helpful if you do have multiple printers that you're using. All right, So those are the basics. I've gone through all the ways you can get files here. I've gone through nesting and ganging and settings and all that fun stuff in the Sawgrass Print Utility. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the design tool and send a file over from there. But before I do, Rhodes, have any other questions come in?
As of now, you're caught up with questions, but just as a reminder, please, if you have any questions, send them over.
Awesome. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the Sawgrass website. Oh, I do want to talk about, before we go into the design tool, because I know I'm going to get in the design tool and forget completely. So I want to show you two other things in the print utility. So first of all, if you go to the help menu, I am in the Sawgrass Print Utility. I have clicked on help. I can click on open press guide, and it is going to open up the press settings that we recommend. Now, we're going to tell you always use what the seller of the product recommends. So if you're purchasing blanks from a dealer and they have settings on their website, go with those. Those are for the specific product, but we do have those general settings. Whether you're using VersaFlex ink or whether you're using Sublimation, we do have those here to give you the basic time, temperature, and pressure for that particular product. So great resource to have. The other one is you can open up a support ticket from here in the Sawgrass Print Utility. So if something happens and you need assistance, here's the best place to get it. Open up a ticket with us. We'll get the information we need from you and be able to help you. All right. So because I was on the website, it reminded me I wanted to tell you that, because I do also want to remind you that here under the Learn menu on our website, you're going to find a lot of great educational resources. So first of all, if you are having a technical issue, go to the knowledge base. It's going to give you a lot of the step-by-step instructions that you need to solve any issues that you may be having, whether it's with the printer, whether it's with the software, whether you need help just downloading it. All of that's going to be right here, and it has some great troubleshooting help for you as well. Now, also under the Learn menu, I did mention that we do have our Academy, our online learnings in YouTube. You can go right there to the Academy and get to those great videos to assist you. You can see our workshop schedule right here under workshops as well. And then you can always go to get started and set up a onboarding session if you're new with Rhodes, who'll be glad to walk you through all of this in a lot more detail. All right, but I am going to go back and I am going to go to my Sawgrass. So this is the easiest way for me to get over to the design tool, and I am simply going to hit that design button. Now, I did say that we have the two pieces of software, the Sawgrass Print Utility. I do hope that everyone is using that piece of software. It is the best way to make sure that you're getting the right output on the paper to give you the best press onto the product that you've purchased. So that does have all those profiles built in there. That is where you need to go for that. But we do have the design tool as well, and I really see two times where you should be using this. One, as you see, we do have a wide variety of Sublimation and now VersaFlex products available. And with that, if I were to choose this car coaster, I know that what I'm going to get is a print that is the right shape and the right size to go onto that car coaster. So it's a very helpful way to do that, to make sure that you're getting the right size and shape, to make sure that your design lines up properly on there. Now, the other reason is if you don't have somewhere else that you're designing, because as I'm going to show you, it's very easy to create a very lovely design and a very easy design here in the design tool, because I do know there are a lot of people who may not have a standard place they design, but if you do, you have that Send to Sawgrass Print Utility and also those quick print folders to help you out. All right, so we do have complete designs in here. One thing you are seeing is this diamond icon. Diamond icon means that this is My Sawgrass Plus Art. We do have a monthly subscription. It is $12.95. If you were to try to use this artwork and you didn't have a subscription, it is going to prompt you to go ahead and purchase. It is the $12.95 per month, which is really great. Great way to get some really high quality artwork. And just as a reminder, we do add new designs every single month. Whenever we add content into the designs area, generally it is going to be a background, it is going to be text, and then it is going to be an image as well. So all of that is right there that you can use and you can modify. Now I'm actually going to start from scratch. I'm going to go into my elements in my graphic library. And I know specifically what I am looking for is a cactus. And so I'm going to go in and pick the cactus that I want. Put that on here. Okay. Actually, pick the wrong cactus. Figures. All right. Oops, and I misspelled cactus. All right. Here we go. We're going to get it right this time. I'm going to put my cactus on there, make him a little bit smaller. Okay. And then I'm going to add some text. I'm also going to add a background really fast because with anything that's white, I do like to add a little bit of color behind it. Now with our backgrounds, we can do this a couple of different ways. In this case, I am going to add a solid background. I'm just going to randomly pick one, but as you can see, I could add a hex code if I knew specifically the shade or the color that I wanted. You'll also see that if you go into backgrounds, we do have patterns. So we do have those patterns that we load every month, just like our artwork. So I could go in here and I could add a background pattern. You also can create your own with the upload button. And whether we're using ours or whether you're uploading, you can actually go down here and you can customize that. It's going to be easier to show you on the upload. One moment. Not what I was looking for. There we are. So if I were to go in here, I could easily take anything and make it into a pattern. I'm going to save it. And then I can go in and I can customize how that looks. So I can change the spacing between them. I can change the size as well. So whether there's a lot or there's a little, and I can really make that the way I want it to be and really make my own pattern there, which is cool. I'm just going to go with that blue background today. I'm going to change it. Go in and just make that color that I want it to be, and we're all set. All right. Now we are going to add some text. Now, one of the things I really love about this program is it's made choosing a font a lot easier. I don't have to search by a name. I can choose a style. It's going to pull up some Western themed fonts for me. going to go with one of my favorites. And then I'm actually going to arc that along the bottom. And the beauty of this is I actually get to control how much of an arc that is. So I could do that more, I could do that less. Make that a little bit smaller, I can make that the color I want. And now I do have that project exactly like I needed. And I could send that over. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that. This is just something that I'm making for today. I don't need to save it to use it later. I don't need to add this to my MySawgrass store. So I'm just going to hit that print button. Send that right on over to the tool. Now, it is two separate pieces of software. So this is leaving the MySawgrass design tool and I'm sending it over to the Sawgrass Print Utility. I'm just going to hit that print button. Now, here is one thing that I want to make sure you know. If you have a pop-up blocker, this next step isn't going to happen. So you have to have it with that where you can have this pop-up that says Open Sawgrass Print Utility. I'm going to hit it. It's going to go right over to my program. And I'm going to be set. All right. But I did want to show you one other thing in the design tool. So I'm going to go in, I'm just going to choose a mug for this project. And this is, well, I'll show you two things. But this next feature is probably one of my favorite additions. One of the things that I got asked a lot in support with Creative Studio was, can I just get the default shapes? We did find some ways to get you just those default shapes, but it's so much easier here. I'm just going to go into my elements. I'm going to click on shapes. You will see there are some of those MySawgrass Plus shapes in here, and then there are those that are the free ones, just the common shapes. I could easily add this water drop or teardrop shape. I could put this in here, and then of course I could change the color. I can also change the outline. I could make that thicker if I needed it and really make that my own. Now, I was asked all the time, how do I make my photo the shape of a teardrop, the shape of a heart, any of those things? And that's going to be down here in this program. I'm going to click on it and hit upload, choose my image. And it's going to go right in there. And then I can actually make this larger or smaller to fit better. And get that exactly the way I need it to be. And this adorable little girl with the dog ears turned 16 this week, so that kind of ages me just slightly, but she did turn 16 this week, so I could do this. I could duplicate it onto the other side of the mug, make my product however I needed to do. All right, so I promised you I'd show you one more thing. I'm going to delete this, and that is uploading your own files into the program. So I'm going to click here. I'm actually going to upload image. And there's one specific one I want to use. Okay, so you can bring your artwork in. Now everyone asks, can I change colors of things that I bring in myself? To some degree you can. You will see that you can kind of play around with some different color modes here. You also can apply some filters. Those filters are going to change the way that looks also. In this case, I'm going to leave it just as it is. But you see that this was a JPEG. It does have this white box around it. Let me add a background really fast so you can see this better. Back to my elements, back to my backgrounds. We're just going to add a solid blue so you can see that. All right, so I'm going to click on my moose again, and I'm going to use this remove color. I'm going to remove all white. That's going to work for this. You could remove background too. You see there are some other options to kind of play with. And now I'm able to have my moose with all of that white removed to be able to use it. All right. So the only thing I haven't really talked about is the save and print. I am going to go ahead and give it a name. Give it a folder, and then I'm going to hit continue. Now, I'm saving this into my gallery, but as far as saving this as completed artwork, haven't done that yet. That is going to happen on that next save and print screen. And it is going over there now. Okay, so this is where you're going to have some options. And I did talk about the store. We're not going to go into that greatly today. I think I did remember my little asterisk here to say that it is US only for now. But you at this screen are not automatically adding it to a store. So even if you're saving it, no one else is going to see it. You can't share it with anyone else unless you hit the post for sale. If I hit save, it is just saving it where me, the creator, can see it, no one else. So I'm going to give it a description. And then now I can hit save. It's going to save it to my studio. I can go in and access that. I can print from here as well. I'm going to hit save just so you can see that. And it is going to save it just for me so that I can pull it up and use it later. We will spend some time in the store next month, so don't worry, we will get there. But I really just wanted to focus on the print utility and on the design tool today. And speaking of the design tool, Rhodes, do we have any questions?
We are caught up on questions.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to save this just because I know a lot of people ask how you get back to that artwork and how you find it. So we're going to let that save. I am seeing my little save bar across the top. That is saving for me. All right. Okay, so I go to my Sawgrass, I click on my picture, I click on my profile, and I see two areas, my studio and my store. You notice they're different. I hit save to put them in my studio. I hit post for sale to put them in my store. So I can go in and I can click here. If I just needed to change something or reprint it, I can hit manage post details and hit the print button. If I needed to change it, I'm just going to open that in the designer. And now it's going to be back into my designer and I can make any changes that I need. So just to kind of help with those people who are having trouble finding the artwork, that's how we're going to do it. Well, all right. That is just some of the features that I really love and just kind of a general how to use on both the Sawgrass Print Utility and on the MySawgrass design tool. Thank you so much for tuning in today, whether you're doing it live or whether you're going to go back and watch this later. If you do watch it later, please feel free to add comments. We do go in and check those. So if you have any questions, we'll be glad to assist you. Thank you so much for joining. That's all our lives for this week, but we'll see you back next week. Next week is all about VersaFlex. We're going to talk about some new markets to sell into with the VersaFlex solution. Specifically, we're going to talk about party decor and home decor next week in our 2 lives. So thank you again. I am Rhonda. Thank you so much for joining us. Leave those comments, ask those questions that you have, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.